Welcome everyone to this week's webinar on AI and social protection. Thanks a lot for joining. We'll just give it a few seconds to let people come in. And I see there's still people coming in. The numbers are increasing, so I'll still wait for a few more moments. And I think maybe we can go to the next slide and get started. So I'm Veronika Wodsak. I'm Social Protection Policy Specialist at ILO headquarters in Geneva. And I'm also a Digital Convergence Initiative founding member, and very pleased to welcome you to today's webinar. We're just basically a follow-up conversation to a workshop that was held in November 2024 on AI for social protection in Bangkok. And we really want to continue that conversation. How can we use AI for improving social protection systems? What are AI use cases? What is the potential of AI, but also what are the risks? What do we need to keep in mind? Can we go to the next slide, please? So before we start our conversation, a few housekeeping rules. This session is being recorded, so by attending, you agree to having this recorded. If you would like to see closed captions, you can activate them yourself by using the CC button often at the bottom of your screen. You can use the chat box to make comments, to present yourself, to share useful information. But if you want to pose concrete, specific questions to our panelists and speakers, please use the Q&A box for this. And please clearly state if you want a specific speaker to answer the question that you're posing. And please also provide a little bit of context to your question. So don't use the moment and say, oh, on what you just said, could you please elaborate? Because we don't necessarily read the question immediately when you pose it. So please make sure that you pose a question that we understand irrespective of the moment of the webinar. And we will hopefully be able to answer most of them during our Q&A session at the end. Now, a quick overview on the webinar, if we move to the next slide. We will first take a quick look at a video that relates to the Bangkok workshop I already mentioned. And then we will have a framing presentation first on artificial intelligence, and then a framing presentation on social protection to set the scene. We will then hear from a provider and a concrete country case from Armenia, and then also a presentation of openIMIS and how AI is used in global public digital good. And then it's your turn to come with your questions and hopefully get answers from our speakers on whatever you wanted to know more about. And with this, we will turn to listening to and watching the video recording.
So it's my pleasure to welcome you all to this workshop on AI for social protection.
To discuss collectively the data. You need to discuss governing the data. You need to discuss the quality improvements around data. You need to discuss all you're going to be doing with data.
AI presents an opportunity for us to be able to expand our social protection and become more inclusive and reduce our exclusiveness in terms of targeting for social protection interventions.
The risk of losing opportunity not integrating AI to our national or our program and scheme is critical. We must implement the AI so that we can unlock the future potentials.
Analyze the data becomes a challenge. Therefore, we are using AI to address this challenge.
There is still quite a lot we need to understand about AI, and quite a lot we need to understand and explore about where and how AI can best add value to the social protection.
Each country has its own context and its own culture. And while adopting AI solutions, we should really look and see how to adapt AI into our culture and our own contexts.
AI can help us more effectively and quickly direct resources to people who need it most. But we need to design these systems with humans at the center and make sure that we have agency, especially in social protection systems.
I think it's been really critical in order to understand and design AI solutions for social protection.
The most interesting thing for me is to speak to practitioners who are actually really in the business of implementing AI in social protection systems, to learn exactly how it works, to get behind the technicalities and also understand the troubleshooting that's needed.
The intention of social protection and universalizing access to social protection can benefit from AI by enabling access in the last mile, by ensuring that people are able to understand, access, and scrutinize delivery of social protection better.
It has been very interesting to share this time with people from all over the world and to talk about artificial intelligence and how this technology can improve the lives of people.
Thanks. So as you've probably seen some of the stars in the video, we have the pleasure to have with us again today. And it's a great honor to introduce today's distinguished speakers. We will get the first framing presentation on AI by Ozzeir Khan. He's Director of Digital for Development Operations Division at the Asian Development Bank. I don't want to spend too much on the very impressive CVs of all our speakers. When you receive the presentation following this webinar, you can click on Learn More and look at these yourself. But in the interest of time, I'm just going to present them with their job titles and institutional affiliation. The next presentation will be by Mohamed Almenfi. He's social protection specialist at the World Bank and also member of the Digital Convergence Initiative. We will then hear from Rodrigo Assumpção, who's president at Dataprev, followed by Anahit Parzyan, executive director at Nork, and then Saurav Bhattarai, the component lead on openIMIS from GIZ, will present, and finally we will have Ralf Radermacher, head of program social protection from GIZ, and also DCI lead agency actually, will give some closing remarks. And so with this, I will hand over to Ozzeir. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Let me try to share my presentation. Okay, can you see
yes,
the
we
presentation?
can see it, just not full screen yet.
Okay, can you see it now?
Yes, now it's full screen.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Very good to be here. It was my pleasure to be in Bangkok, where me as a AI technologist learned a lot about social protection. And I'll go over in my talk a little bit about what I discussed in Bangkok, and then sort of augment that with what has happened since then in AI. So the basics of AI really are still the same. There are sort of two parts to AI, predictive AI and generative AI. Predictive AI has been around for a while, since early 2000s, where it's about predicting probabilities, patterns, where algorithms can study and assign probabilities for decision making. And this is something that we've been seeing in the early days of e-commerce, where this started coming into play, where you watch something and then you recommended something else. But with LLMs coming into play, now the focus is a lot more on generative AI, which has the possibilities, as many of us have used in many domains now in the last 2 years since it's coming into sort of more mainstream. So still, both of these are important, and in the work that we do at ADB, we leverage them in sector work, not just social protection, but others. And I see almost 50-50 in terms of split, in terms of use cases coming to us in various domains. So it's not just generative AI, it's predictive AI, which is still very much there in terms of use cases and productivity gains and effectiveness that it can provide. I won't go over a lot of details into the history of AI. I think this is now more mainstream today than it was, let's say, a year ago. People understand where we are today in AI much more than where we were a year ago. A few things I do want to point out, that the natural language processing is becoming stronger. I think in the last 6 months, huge advances have come into play in terms of how humans can naturally interact with models on both sides, on the machine learning side as well as on generative AI side. And this is where it will become a lot more easier for complex use cases to be now supported with the natural language. So speaking, using cameras to watch, and those cameras which are watching can then enable processing based on AI that can understand what's going on. Just to give you an example, in my home here, my 2 sons are sleeping in the other room right now. It's 9 p.m. in Manila. And I have a CCTV, and in the last last 2 months, I've installed an AI program on top, which enables me to get an alert when 2 boys are fighting. So that gives you an idea of the advancements in AI and the use cases. You can just imagine in every domain, in everything we do, are going to flourish. with such natural language or natural ways in which humans live and work that can be now enhanced by AI. I won't go in sort of the history in terms of key events around AI, but one of the key things to notice if you look at AI and if you look at industrial era, there's a lot of talk about AI being equal to, let's say, internet, but in my mind, that's not really the case. AI is more like early 1900s when industrial era began. So it is much more of a change. As a technologist, I see it that we are at a start of a new era of the way we will live and the way we will work in our industries. In the last few months since the meeting in Bangkok, one major sort of element which is coming into play is robotics and AI. Now, I don't know a lot of use cases around robotics and social protection, but you can imagine when robotics come into play, where construction workers are using robots to do construction using AI, and that will be in place in the coming years, and that brings in a whole new capacity in terms of AI and what it can do. A lot of use cases outside. I won't go into a lot of these details because these are about 7-8 months ago. One thing which is key now is AI agents. And I think in social protection, a lot of time, there's a lot of casework involved. You have case files. You have humans that interact and then collate the information in PDFs, and then those PDFs are read by humans, and then they're used for different purposes. So now with this AI agents, and I'm sure you're hearing and understanding more about this, we at ADB have been involved in putting few agents in place, and the productivity from agents is also remarkable because they act almost like humans reading or understanding complex issues, which used to be the work of a caseworker in any industry. And this is OpenAI's own sort of roadmap. And you can see as we are moving forward, the evolution of AI is going towards the end of the way organizations are today as AI evolves. In the interest of time, I won't go into some of these slides, but this basically talks about how this is going to increase GDP growth across the globe. And this you're seeing it live where countries where AI is being produced and used. The different types of modeling required for AI. AI is, when it comes to domain work, agriculture or any of the domains, in this case, social protection, it does require customization. It does require modeling, which is more focused. It does require fit for purpose AI infrastructure. So this has to be engineered for domain-specific use cases to be effective. And we're seeing that in the work that we're doing at ADB, both in our operational projects and within ADB.
Can you speed up a little more? I know you've sped up a lot, but the time's almost up, please, Ozzeir. Thanks.
I will just go to the end. I won't go through a lot of use cases. But just to sort of end, I posted a link here. If those of you who want to see AI in action, this is one of the use cases that has been extremely successful in understanding 70 years of work that the bank has done in different projects, and how then we're using that to create new sort of projects or new designs. So I'll leave you with this, but then we can go more into when the Q&A comes. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Ozzeir, and really sorry to have to interrupt you. And now moving to Mohamed immediately for the overview on social protection, please.
Thank you so much, Veronika. Yeah. All right. Let me share my screen. Okay. For some reason, I'm not seeing the. Okay. Maybe I'll share my whole screen because I don't see the PPT itself.
It's coming up now, I think. Yes.
Okay, good. All right, good. Hi, everyone. This is Mohamed Almenfi, Social Protection Specialist at the World Bank, and thanks again for the invitation. I think this is a great follow-up after Bangkok event, and it's a pleasure to walk you a little bit through what AI means for social protection and where do we stand. So first, I think understanding and harnessing AI has a great potential for SP. I mean, we see, as Ozzeir mentioned, we see an explosive and expansive progress in AI technology recently, from large language model to generative AI, etc. And we see at the World Bank in particular, we're gearing up to leverage all of these revolutions to supporting a lot of our projects in multiple sectors, whether it's education, health, energy, and we started to see adoption of AI across those sectors, and social protection is actually is catching up and is not far away from the other sectors in terms of adapting and harnessing AI to improve the effectiveness and efficiency of social protection programs. But doing a quick map on SP and what countries around the world are doing in terms of using AI to improve their program efficiency, we see actually a diverse set of countries where they started either piloting or implementing some of AI solutions. And here, for example, we see Colombia, Ecuador, Brazil, Ghana, which presented also in Bangkok workshop, Tonga, India, Italy, and among others, where they use a AI application for SP in a multiple format. For example, it's either in social registry data accuracy or proxy means testing enhancement. We see a lot of use in fraud detection and double dipping and deduplications and identifying all of those aspects. But Ghana was an interesting also case where they use AI for nutrition tracking and dietary needs assessments. So we see countries, again, have already started to explore AI solutions and across multiple pillars of as social protection. But here, if we look at this, what we call it the delivery system or delivery chain, which are the business processes and the different steps that social protection programs, particularly social assistance, which is the non-contributory part of it, go through, right? From outreach, how you communicate with applicants, how you take the information and register them, how do you assess the needs and condition, enroll the beneficiary, pay them, and then how do you manage them across the program or project lifecycle, right? And we started to see, some applications here, but yet the full potential for application across the delivery chain remains largely untapped. For example, we see here in the intake and registration, some applications, as I mentioned, social registry and payments and grievance mechanisms. But there are other areas where we still we're yet to see some use, for example, in the program MISs or the eligibility and enrollment and exit decision notification and case outcomes. There are some other areas where we're yet to see some of the adoption of AI. So I think there are a lot of potential that is untapped here in terms of social protection and in terms of social assistance. When it comes to the labor market delivery chain, we also observe the same thing, where we don't see a lot of examples of use. But for example, Argentina, Estonia, and Ukraine, they leverage actually AI for job matching algorithm and platforms to make sure that they can connect people who are seeking jobs with the employers and minimize the friction in the middle to enhance this connection between the two. And when it comes to social insurance, which is the contributory part of social protection, we again, similar story. We see some applications here and there, but not largely across the delivery chain. One particular case to mention is Brazil, where they leverage AI for fraud detection in the social insurance administration. But AI holds a significant potential to address a lot of the challenges that we see across the delivery chain. Of course, this is just a non-exhaustive list, but if you look at the delivery chain, there are multiple challenges per phase. For example, for outreach, we have the customized outreach and dissemination as a challenge, different languages and local languages, and how you can tailor the outreach and communication strategy to particular groups. I think AI can play a greater role here. And eligibility and enrollment.
Mohamed, sorry to interrupt,
yes.
but could you remove the calendar meeting reminder, because we
Oh,
can't see
okay.
the slide full.
All right,
Sorry about this.
sorry. Yes, because I'm sharing my full screen, I couldn't find the PPT, but hopefully now it's good.
Yes, great, thanks.
Okay, thank you so much. So, yeah, a lot of challenges across the delivery chain, and AI actually can play a key role in all of those areas and all of those building blocks. As I mentioned, for example, in the eligibility and enrollment and the targeting in general, there is a big challenge, the targeting challenge in how you apply those eligibility, fair and transparent application, and how you do fraud detection, right? And AI can help. And we started actually to see some examples of AI playing that role. For example, using machine learning and I am adjusting some of the targeting methodology. I think Togo is a one particular case where they use some of the machine learning and AI technology to minimize the questionnaires and allow for more and better accuracy of targeting. Same applies to the other phases across the delivery chain. For example, if we take the provision of benefits and services, which is technically the payment aspect, resource planning, timely and accessible payments. Another thing maybe I didn't add here is the reconciliations, where you make sure that you paid who you're supposed to pay. And I think AI can also play a key role. And my last slide, and I'm ending here quickly, is that as we advance the digitalization of social protection, I think we should recognize that AI has a transformative potential. And we see this in a way where, like, I think there's no way you can outpace infrastructure and having kind of establishing the base, for example, progress to establish functional and foundational blocks of SP. When we talk foundational, such as the ID, payment system, and interoperability. Functional, such as social registry, program MISs, and building those are very crucial. And then another step forward is to make sure that interoperability, to enhance that accuracy, and as people need to talk to each other, systems need to talk to each other, right? And being able to exchange data between systems are the crucial. And then I think there is a leap ahead where leveraging AI to further enhance the efficiency and impact of SP delivery system. I'll stop here and over to you, Veronika. I hope I was good.
Thanks a lot, and thanks also for keeping in time. So we'll just go straight to our next presentation. Rodrigo, if you please.
Sure.
Also share your screen.
Thank you. I will. Let's see if this works now. Nope, I think this one.
Yes, it's coming up.
How about that?
It's not full screen yet.
Is it now?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
I think if in the bottom.
Okay, I'll try.
Yes, that one.
How about that? So you're seeing a different one from I am. Nope. I'll try again. How about now?
Still not in presentation mode, but
Still
maybe clicking on that one now.
No, it's not going because it appears in a different screen. Okay.
Well, I think it's, I mean, we can also
one
see
more
the
try.
slides.
Yes. How about now?
It looks a bit different from before, but it's still not
Is
in
it bigger?
presentation mode.
Oh dear. Last try and then we go.
Yeah, if not, we just do it, even if we can
You
see
just do it
the-
exactly
in
like it is.
non-presentation mode, we can still see the slides. That's fine. Yes, now it's,
That is working?
yes, now we can see it.
Sure.
Beautiful.
I'll jump straight ahead. I lead Dataprev, which is a state-owned company owned by the Brazilian government, and it focused on social data, and most of the social benefits of Brazil comes through us. In terms of AI, now it's not changing. Fantastic. Oh dear. There we go. In terms of AI, as I mentioned, there was something I talked about and they captured it in the video. You need to organize your data. So we've been doing this. Last year we turned 50 as a company, and we've been organizing data sets and the interoperability of data for decades. All these colored balls are different databases that we structure here in Brazil for the execution of social protection, for the execution of all the social policies. The gray balls are what we are now going after in this period. So new DPIs, we're structuring an address DPI, for example. We're structuring systems to help us deal with climate change disasters. So all kinds of these things, we provide ICT services across government entities. Now, in terms of AI, one of the things that we've been doing for decades, and now we're applying AI, is qualifying data and benefits. So we have all these dimensions, the identification of people. So we have a tax number, which serves as a unifying number here in Brazil. We check dates of birth, mother's name, death registry, divorces, marriages, the affiliation of people, in what family group they structure, as I mentioned, now address and location, and the whole dimension of income composition, with formal income, the informal income that we can somehow match and track, the benefits that people receive or not, and other signs of wealth accumulation that we partner with the monetary authorities, the tax collection agencies, to gather these things. And of course, labor information. So we have a lot of data being churned constantly, even in case of the payment registries in real time. So we can either address problems, address fraud, or block benefits of people who have died, block benefits of people who are no longer within the eligibility criteria. So this is something that is ongoing, and we apply it to all the benefits that come through us. And now we're trying to put AI on this stack to organize these actions. The opportunities are business process accelerators, decision-making agents, and I totally agree with the previous speaker that was talking about the enormous potential of AI agents, risk analysis, and business insights. So the key thing to all of that, in our perception, is qualified data. AI applications are only as good as the data the models have been trained on. Having said that, as most technologies, you can correct many of the risks while you're doing it. So the challenge has to be taken in consideration, but it's not something that you avoid. It's something that you jump into and then act on it. So as I said, there is a challenge of structuring the infrastructure, the actual GPU structure that is going to run the systems, the mindset to transit to a probabilistic process, the discussion about the impartiality of models, the human resources that deal with all this, Of course, if you are interoperating and exchanging data at a very high level, you have new and compounded information security aspects to consider, the governance of the models, and of course, the sustainability issue, which is something I think we should talk about in the QA session, because the open AI models is one of the new developments that we really need to discuss. ISA, the International Social Security Association, has done a research and mapped these use cases that are currently being tried in the social security universe. We are doing a few cases. We are using AI in 3 different forms. We have a kind of AI as a service platform for more than 100 different projects that are happening within the Brazilian government. Then we are using AI for our clients, and these are the 3 use cases that I brought. And we are expanding our own internal use of AI. All of our areas within the company are having new digital AI projects to enhance and help the way we work. So this is a smart employability use case that is helping match jobs and job offers. We have a very interesting decision-making support, so that helps the people who are in the front line in the offices to conduct their decisions. And this helps us also to streamline, but also standardize many of the decisions taken by the officials at the front edge. And smart proof of life, where we are trying to do a very intense and very accelerated risk pyramid to direct our scarce resources to where proof of life is most necessary, where the statistics shows that we will have a higher probability of finding people who have deceased, and then we have to do something with their benefits. So just these 3 examples. There's a lot more in the presentation that will be available for discussion, but since we are short on time, I'll just close with this last slide that I always use, that we think that digital transformation is something like the picture on the right, all proper lines, all separate colors. But especially when we are adopting new technologies on top of old technologies and process, often it's a very much messier process. But both are beautiful, both are worth millions of dollars, and both work as digital transformation. So we should never be discouraged of trying and accelerating our digital transformation process. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Rodrigo. And in art, I'm definitely more of a Pollock fan. Whether that's the case for digital transformation as well, I have yet to find out. But without further ado, it's my pleasure to hand over to Anahit now for her presentation.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much, Veronika. Let me share the screen. Let me try to share the screen.
Yes, I'll let you know if it's coming on, I think.
Okay, can you see this?
Yes, it's perfect. Thank you.
So thank you very much for giving me the floor. I would very shortly and very briefly introduce what is Nork, what we're doing, and why we decided to try AI and what we have as a result. So Nork Technology Center is in Armenia. That is a foundation that was established by the government of Armenia to implement social protection and labor digital transformation. So we are providing digital services to more than 65% of the population of Armenia. And this is a very responsible, very challenging, and very difficult processes, but we're doing it with great pleasure. We have 24 years of experience, and we have very many different platforms. And what we decided to do is to, within our platforms and within our new services, we decided that the labor and social protection has huge amount of data, and we have huge amount of different types of databases. And what we really want to do is to see whether we can use all these data to try to experiment AI and to see whether it is helpful. Are we doing whatever we are doing in a correct way, or there are still things that we have to work on and to implement. So these are our latest platforms that we have developed, and in some of them we have already used AI, and today I'm going to share this experience with you. So I would like to say that in 2021 we started AI project together with ADB as an experiment, and we did a research, not a huge project, but later on we started to implement this AI product as one of our main components in different platforms. So we started it with one of the biggest platforms, that is the social benefit system. So we decided that people, when they are applying for social benefits, especially cash, they are staying in platforms for quite a long time, like in 4 years or 5 years, which is really very disturbing, because it means that the benefits we're providing to our beneficiaries are not that much helpful to help them to overcome the difficulties and to go forward and to move or be activated in labor. And we decided to see what's the problem. So within that platform, I would now show you one of our experiments. So here's the chart that we used AI. So we decided to analyze 3 to 5 years of people who stayed in the benefit system and to see whether we have the fraud in that system. So we find out, we had main 5 questions to the AI to determine whether decision-making complies with all legal acts and to see whether there were some fraudulent activities, to identify beneficiaries who will remain in social assistance program for more than 3 years, and to identify which groups will remain more than 3 years, why they will be rated, what is their family, components, what is their income, what is their professional specialization, and what are all the problems that actually don't allow these people to overcome these difficult situations. We also ask to identify and to classify beneficiaries who will exit social assistance programs in the event of income growth, whether or not it is only related to their income or there are other obstacles to overcome within these benefit program systems, and to identify segment social assistance beneficiaries to uncover hidden trends, because AI is not only trying to find the hidden patterns that we actually can find out by different algorithmic matches or by analyzing on our own, but it also can provide us with hidden trends that are not very much clear based on our social biases, based on our exceptions and perceptions, our differentiation. So these hidden trends will show us whether we can see the picture in a whole perspective, or with the generative AI, we can find new trends to focus on. For example, when we were trying to figure out the lowest income categories, we find out that there were particularly in rural areas, and they were living in private houses. This is very strange, because private house is supposed to have a kind of nice place with the land, at least, that they can have some kind of activities to have some income on their own. But at the same time, when we had this analysis, we find out their condition of their private houses is not that good. So that's the reason that they are actually having low income, because they are spending a lot of money on energy, they are spending a lot of money on heating, on everything. They need to cover the expenses, extra costs related to their private houses. So that was the problem was actually identified, and this problem is not going to be solved within the beneficiary system, but within an infrastructure system. So this hidden trend was, we found this hidden trend, which was a very interesting discussion. And last, we actually categorized the effectiveness of employment programs, because in parallel with our benefit systems, we also have different governmental employment programs that are targeting specific groups. We decided to see whether these programs were efficient enough, whether people were being activated within these projects, and how long will they stay in the labor market, and what are the trends that they are pushing back again and coming back to social benefit systems. So all these questions we asked to AI, and it was very interesting besides all the analysis that we have, we found also new categories, new classifications, and also new setups and new hidden trends. There were also, friendly speaking, there were also some ideas, some classifications which were absolutely not relevant to our situations and our cultural or our ethnical idea, specifications, and we omitted that part, which is very quite acceptable. But overall, we had very nice results. Based on that research done with the help of AI, we actually evaluated and managed to implement a generated tool that will give a score based on these specifications and based on the sensitivity and fraudulent activities. So at the right corner of my presentation page, you can see this red box with 8, 9, 10. So if we have this red box, 8, 9, 10, this means that the case that is coming to the social employer, it definitely needs to be revised and needs to have a home visit, personal, because this is a high risk of fraudulent activities. So this scoring system helped us to distinguish between fraudulent and non-fraudulent cases and to shorten the home visits by personnel and to cut their activities and to make them more effective and efficient. Next part, we did also evaluation on next activities. Fraudulent applications we identified by region and try to connect it with other relevant data related their activation in the labor market, in their type of their living, in the family member, number of family members, and also whether or not they have people with disabilities and other things. And by that, we could find the most fraudulent applications by the region and try to understand whether that was implemented based on human, by the human impact, or that was by the system. So we try to differentiate these activities as well. So the usage of AI was not only based on classification of the target group analysis, but also it was a kind of monitoring tool for social protection service itself. And the next part, we use this AI analysis to understand whether beneficiaries existing in social benefit PAROS system will increase or decrease due to income increase. So we find out what are the most people in the professors, the specializations that are in this segment, and what kind of professions they have, and whether or not they have chances to go back to the labor market, or they particularly need to be evaluated and upskilled to go back to the labor market. And we find out that there are quite a percentage of people without upskilling that they can immediately go to the labor market, and the matching system helped us to find the exact ways, places, and regions to support them with finding the job. So these experiments help us to reshape and redesign our main platforms. And now I'm going to show you the labor market platform. You see, it's designed.
Can you be super quick, Anahit, because we're running a little bit out of time. But yeah, please take.
Already.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Yeah, so we use these platforms to evaluate our labor market platform. Now, in labor market platform, automatically CV is being generated, and based on the CV information, it is matching. There is a matching system that finds a relevant announcement for them and suggests them automatically. And based on also these applications, we have also developed one of the features of our e-disability platform, which is automatically suggesting the doctors among 1,500 international accepted protocols based on their medical differentiations and descriptions. So these are our main achievements within this respect, and we actually are doing evaluations, and we try to make them real-time working platforms for our newly designed social benefit and social labor protection systems. Thank you so much, and I will stop here.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. And last but certainly not at all least, Saurav, over to you.
All right. Thank you very much. We've been hearing about the potentials of AI and also some applications of it. in quite advanced settings, I would say. But let me take you through a thought around having digital public goods for artificial intelligence, and therefore building sustainable AI tools that we can use, that the countries we're supporting can use. But before we get into the AI products itself, maybe we just do a very quick refresher on what digital public goods are. So, according to the definition by the Digital Public Good Alliance, we're talking about open source software and knowledge products. So we're not only talking about tools, but also knowledge around it that basically supports sustainability of the digitalization efforts. If you go to the website of the Alliance, you see a lot of criterias, 9 or even more with the sub-criteria that talk about what makes a digital public good really a digital public good. So it's but at the gist of it, it's about sustainability of digitalization, and really that's achieved by having these software and the knowledge and a community around it leading the efforts and supporting the efforts. So not having having a more of a participatory approach. So that's what digital public goods are when we look at just software and knowledge products. But now, why should we be looking at digital public goods when we're talking about AI? And it's quite clear, the expertise on AI is limited. So the computer engineers that have a lot of the skills on AI currently, they're limited, and they're most likely flocking to the highest bidder, and it's difficult for social protection organizations to be the highest bidder in these cases. So there's limited expertise. We do know that, and because of that, implementing AI becomes expensive. Apart from the reasons of hardware requirements, infrastructural requirements, but also with limited expertise, it becomes expensive and therefore not sustainable. But if we develop AI tools and products as digital public goods, we allow for the sharing of knowledge. Just similarly to how we're sharing knowledge right now in this webinar around the potentials, but getting more into the technical depth in terms of what we can do, sharing code, etc., to really build upon each other's work, so that not everyone is reinventing everything from scratch. Like, for example, what we heard from Dataprev, from Nork. If another institution needs the same thing, it really doesn't make sense to build everything from scratch. So as an example, let's take a look at what we've done in openIMIS. So openIMIS, as you might know, or maybe if you don't know, openIMIS is a digital public good that helps to manage social protection and health financing schemes. So provides various solutions to manage social health insurance, cash transfers, manage beneficiary registries, and all of that. So acting as a social protection MIS. So that's openIMIS in general, but then we've been working on an AI module since a few years, and it's basically targeted at the problem that we're seeing with the users of openIMIS that use it for health insurance management, is that there's a large amount of health insurance claims that need to be reviewed by human reviewers. It's difficult to categorize each and every claim and put very specific logic in it, because medicine is complicated. There's a lot of deviations from even the rules that could still be correct. So that's the problem. And we're getting, in some implementations, we're getting upwards of 40,000 claims a day coming into the health insurance institutions, and a total of, on a good day, 14 to 15 people reviewing them. So at a point where the review becomes the bottleneck. And so the solution is to have an AI module that uses AI methods of mostly machine learning. So if you remember the first slides that Ozzeir presented, we're right now talking about machine learning, which is a subset of artificial intelligence, but we're not talking about generative AI right now. We're talking about machine learning to to support the reviewers based on what reviews they have done before. So the AI module learns from what the humans have done before to help them in the future. So to help them identify claims, saying like, look, from what you have done before, we know that maybe this is less risky. So it's basically helping to categorize claims so as to make this process faster. We could turn it on full automatic mode, so it doesn't just give advice, it just takes decisions, but that's up to the insurer to decide. But that's the solution that we've been developing. And the core thing about it is it's built as a digital public good. So this module that I'm speaking about is open source. You can get the code right now, and not only the code, but also what methods were used, what was the logic behind designing them, but what kind of algorithms were used. All of that is fully documented and therefore ready to use as is. You can just take it and use it, or more importantly, you can build upon it further, because what we've done might not be the exact problem or the exact solution that you need, but maybe we've done 70% of the work. So you can just do the remaining 30% and use it for your use case. And therefore that really saves on the time and effort. So basically this module for the implementations in health insurance, they are ready to use as is, to train with their data and then further build upon. But for the others as well, and even for other use cases, maybe there's commonality between fraud detection or claims categorization in wider social protection as well, so that we can reuse what we've done in the AI module. So it's a basis to build upon further. So the source code is available for anyone to look at, and for the data scientists also the documentation. So in openIMIS we maintain a repository of our code as well as all the documentation on the wiki. So this is not proprietary machine learning algorithms or anything that we're using. You're free to go there and share this with your wider teams as well, so that you can also start getting started on using AI in your programs. So that's basically the tool, and the really the idea is that you can use it as it is or build upon it further. And this is just one example from openIMIS. So the case here is that we should be developing much more of these, either built on openIMIS or on as other DPGs as well. But this idea of developing artificial intelligence modules, models, whatever, as digital public goods really will help us innovate, because we can build upon each other's work. And just because I'm sure there will be some questions around this, I just put some together before handing over, is on, can this model be used without using openIMIS as this MIS? Of course, we've built it to be interoperable so that you can just use parts of it. You don't need to send data to openIMIS or GIZ or anyone to use it. It's yours to be deployed on your infrastructure, and you can use it according to your rules. And of course, I've been saying you can enhance it for your specific use case. You can try to use it for other use cases than claims categorization. I think that would be a big advantage to the community that you can feed back. And we highly encourage you to feed back to the community. And that's the whole point of building DPGs. So with that, I end and hand back over to Veronika.
Yes, thanks so much. And thanks to all the speakers for really exciting and rich and informative presentations, and for keeping to time very well, so that we still have 25 minutes now for question and answers, and we already have received a number of them in the chat. I think some of them point in the same direction. I think taking one step back, there are two underlying fundamental questions that we all grapple with when thinking about use cases for AI in our contexts, no matter what they are. And one, of course, is the whole question around transparency and accountability. Even very high income, high capacity contexts, we've seen things go terribly wrong with an attempt to automate perhaps too far certain processes. So I think this is certainly one question that participants want to hear more about. How can we make sure that there is still sufficient transparency and accountability when we deploy AI solutions. And a second one, I think, especially the presentation of Mohamed, but also Anahit's presentation, and everyone pointed a little bit in the direction, there is a lot of potential for a whole range of different use cases in the social protection sector. I think Mohamed basically said every step in the delivery system, both front office and back office interfaces, we will be able to identify or think about possible AI solutions that can potentially improve the delivery. And I think the question then is, how do we know what to prioritize, what steps to take first, what to choose? And in particular, from a perspective of, it's not just about cost saving, right? And it's not just about efficiency. It's about ensuring public services work well for the population and ensuring people who have certain entitlements can realize and have effective access to them. And so from that perspective, I mean, what would be the most, perhaps the most promising entry points or priorities that would have, I mean, both in terms of how easy they are to deploy and the impact that they have in terms of improving really the performance of the social protection systems to deliver to the people what they should. So we'll start with those two questions. There are many more. I don't know. I think probably all of you have a lot to say on this. Mohamed, I can see you have your hand up. So maybe you start, and then if others want to come in, but be very concise, because these are obviously, you can write PhD theses on each of those questions. So yeah.
You're absolutely right, Veronika. And I think you asked the right questions about where to start, right? And I think one of the biggest challenges in the social assistance field, if I want to be specific, is the targeting question, right? And for each targeting method you choose, there will be a caveats, there will be exclusion, inclusion errors. So this is the big piece that everyone's trying to solve, and we're different targeting methods, combining them, they have different kind of efficiency. But I think I see a lot of hope that where AI can be used for targeting, and I want to warn against this to run so fast toward this for one particular reason. And I think it's, if we take proxy means testing, for example, one of the big challenges for this is like, how do you explain this to communities? Is a statistical model? How do you tell them that because of, because of the survey, or you own a house, you own a TV that is a couple of inches larger than your neighbor's TV, then you disqualify. So it's hard to explain this to communities. I see similar challenges with using AI for targeting in similar way, like how do you communicate the logic behind it? So I think, I'm not saying that we should not. What I'm saying is that we should not be like kind of equate targeting, AI for SP with targeting issue. I think AI can help in many other things that do not have a larger impact on the decision to be a beneficiary, such as, classifying grievances, identifying inconsistencies in the data, all of those, like kind of from the back office sort of admin efficiency gains, AI can. And I think we should approach this in a gradual way where we start gradually kind of adapting AI to improve those efficiencies for the low-hanging fruit steps as we develop more kind of framework on how can we tackle the big challenges. So I'm just saying we should start gradually and don't go with the big ones first.
Yes, no, I fully agree. And also intuitively, it would seem to me that the potential is much greater on the back office operations. And indeed, I mean, there is a lot of concern, especially for rights-based approaches, to use AI for the targeting. So I'm very glad you're saying that. But in a way, you now told us what not to start with. Do you have any advice perhaps on that could be, I mean, Rodrigo, I'm assuming, would of course say, get your data in order first. But assuming we have our data in order, then, I mean, what do you think then could be a good starting point?
No, I think one of the big challenges we see in implementing, especially if we talk about the, I want to talk targeting a little bit, is that the surveys and how large the surveys is, and is there any way that we can minimize those surveys and make them kind of quick and easy and just find the right questions? And I think this is where AI can be a good start entry point into the targeting field, in my view. But in terms of the social protection in general, I think again, starting with grievance is one key entry point, and I think, and by the way, grievance redress mechanisms is one of the least focused on steps of social protection, which it saddened me a lot. Whenever every country I go, is like usually there's that they don't. It's an afterthought, right?
And it's so important for effective access to have, yes.
Right. So I think grievances and data management and data updates, I think that could be a good starting point. Communication also, it's an afterthought, and I think that's also could be a great starting point, especially when it comes to different languages and local languages. Although I would like our AI colleagues to talk about how can AI be kind of catching up on other languages as well, native languages and local languages. Can they adapt quickly to those or not? I think that is something that we should focus on. But I'll stop here to give more space.
Does anyone else want to build on this? I don't know, Ozzeir, Rodrigo, does anyone want to come in? Yes, Rodrigo.
Yes, I would like to come in. No, my point is that I've been doing this for a long time, and technology always gets the bad rep, gets the blame in a sense. So it doesn't work. It's the IT. It's the algorithms. We're always trying to detach responsibility. AI is not going to do anything different from the policies that we choose. So it's not an autonomous thing, whatever. This is science fiction. It is not real. So AI is going to do in a much faster manner the good or the bad choices that politics will define. And that's where targeting comes in and all these things come in. So the idea that, AI is kind of different, it's not. This is the same discussion. You automatize everything, you digitalize everything. You are just making your errors or your good policy efforts faster and more efficient, but the choices are made in the policy. We always have to remember that. Otherwise, we kind of get into this detached illusion of technocrats that there is perfection in the algorithm and we don't need to make hard choices. Targeting, as Ralf once told me, and I hope I'm not misquoting him, is an unfortunate need of not having enough budget. Otherwise, you wouldn't discuss targeting like that. And if you're putting the line in a couple of inches of a flat screen TV, as Mohamed's example, and sometimes we have to do this kind of thing, you're going to have problems because nobody realistically feels that poverty is 1 inch above or below whatever you define. And AI is not going to change that. So we have to put technology in its place. It is remarkable, it's important, but it's not going to solve our political problems. And it shouldn't get the blame for our political errors.
Absolutely. I mean, recalling the importance of having a sound legal framework that clearly establishes eligibility criteria, duration of benefits, benefit levels, and then the technology just being the solution for how to turn this into practice. But we have seen cases in the UK and the Netherlands, I mean, that have now been very famously put in media where the technology precisely did not succeed in implementing what was. And that's why the outcry was so big, right? Because they could say, this is not what we intended politically, right?
No, but that's my point. I don't know a lot about UK, but I did study a lot about the Netherlands. It was policy. It was a political decision. It had nothing to do with technology. They wanted that outcome and replicated their biases. And they got what they wanted. And they got reelected because of that. Or they are back in power now, in part because of that bad decision. It was not IT. It's not technology. It's politics.
Okay, thanks a lot. Did anyone, Ozzeir, please come in.
Yeah, just to add, since you mentioned policy, one area that we're seeing some interest is AI to support policy making, and this is, I mean, I'll give an example of another industry that we're looking at is utilities, where the energy pricing, the AI can recommend, because technically nowadays or traditionally it's been based on large segments of population. But now with AI, you can target more individuals on energy pricing. And we see many utilities companies now looking at AI to provide more support for policymaking. So this AI for policymaking has some legs, and we are seeing that in other industries, and could be relevant here as well. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. So it's not only politicians asking technology to do what they decided, it's also using data and yeah, I mean, processing, detecting patterns in large databases to inform policy and support political decisions on, for example, prices. That indeed, I think this is also a super, for public administration, a super important area to explore. We have many more questions, and apologies in advance if we are not able to answer all of them online. We will continue to stay and put some of the answers in writing. There's one question on use cases of AI in evaluation. So, or I guess showing impact or results or if on effectiveness. Is that something where people can come up with examples? I mean, there are many very specific questions of, are there examples of how to use AI for this or that? For example, there was one question on, where is it now? Alerting, like using AI in the process for alerting or needs detection in a way, or referral systems. So if you see a certain pattern among your beneficiary households, are there use cases of AI that then suggest linking this to certain services or benefits? And I think we heard a little bit from Anahit already on how they use this, but maybe we can elaborate this a little bit more.
Sure.
Anyone wanting to come in? Yes?
At least two things I would like to mention regarding the AI that we've used. I quite agree with my colleagues that it's actually a technology that we have to use and to see the experiments. And there are sometimes the policies that we're putting into practice that can be adjusted further, and we will see it just immediately, not within the procedures. And technology helps us to see these biases and also maybe not very correct policies very quickly and directly. At the same time, consciousness is very important because we are starting to use this technology. Maybe we're not quite trained to use it in a good way. So sometimes we need time to process this and to learn ourselves. We're teaching them with language models, but we are also teaching ourselves how to use these models. So this needs time. And the second part is regarding how we use it with evaluation and monitoring systems. So I've already talked about our cases. We use it both in policy implementation. We use it also in evaluation and in monitoring systems. In monitoring and in evaluation systems, this quickness and the accuracy of data that we got with generative AI is absolutely very high and very important. We could have never done this without AI in such a short period of time. So it's definitely a whole national level review with high level accuracy. So this is very important to integrate AI, especially in monitoring and evaluation systems, because in that case, but you need to work really very hard to put the KPIs correctly. Otherwise, you will lose your time. And afterwards, you will not get the result that you're looking for. So in our cases, we had one case only that we didn't like the results, and then we find out that it was not relevant to our communities. That's why we didn't like the result. So now we adjust by the help of prompt engineering, we reshape our questions to our AI to use it more efficiently in future. But the evaluation helps us to score. Imagine you have around 1,000 social workers to have a home visit. Every and each case they have to do, because you don't have an evaluation form to understand which one is not to include or which one is to include. Every and each of them can be a fraudulent case. With an AI tools that we have already set up in our program, now we can definitely cut at least 30 to 65% of home visits based on our calculations. And the monitoring of afterwards usage proved this accuracy, which means that we can shorten our expenses, we can become more efficient in our activities, and we can have up-to-date, accurate data quicker, faster, which will help us to evaluate our budgets for our programs and our cash delivery and assistance programs. And also we can have a data-driven policy implementations in future. So probably this is it.
Thanks a lot, Anahit. There was, on the discussion that we had before about what's a good entry point, I saw one question around, is grievances an unproblematic use case, so to say? So he's saying handling grievances through AI could be highly contentious. Monitoring benefit delivery and reconciliation requires transparency, and any database process is vulnerable to data protection risks. Of course, I mean, data protection is another big question that always comes up. No webinar on digitalization or AI without discussing that as well. But seriously, I mean, that's a good question. No? Do we run into similar problems as we do with the questions around targeting when we try to use AI for grievances? But I think in general, there's more, for me, it's more a question of what is the starting point for using AI, no? I mean, if we can automate certain processes and then focus our attention on, for example, you use AI for claims treatment, and then those that are rejected, a human comes in afterwards checking on these, and then the more difficult cases are still treated by the humans, but the more straightforward cases, actually, we can use machine learning to really accelerate a lot our claims treatment processes. So I think it's always also a little bit the question of what do you do with those cases that are detected as problematic or rejected or excluded through the automated process, right? But yeah, so handing back, Saurav, you also have your hand up, but then maybe also handing back that question of what can then be an ethical use of AI in grievance treatments, right? But Saurav, you go first, please.
Sure. No, and it was actually a reaction to this as well. It's because listening to some of the discussions and also the questions, maybe we're thinking about automatizing the entire chain of processes, because what we're talking about is not a single process. It's a chain of different things that are in a process. So parts of it can be supported by AI. So even in grievance, better categorization or making the system understand different languages and then categorize it, all of that we can still use AI, but because we use AI doesn't mean that it also needs to take care of the grievance and fix the problem, and then we're just sitting there doing something else. No, so I think we need to see where in the chain of various processes we can introduce AI, and where it makes the most sense, where we need human intervention. So I think that gap analysis or that study is required, and we shouldn't look at it as, you know, here is grievance handling and we just let AI handle it. No, so and it goes for the other processes as well.
It's a question of optimizing the repetitive and routine processes, and then use the human capacity for really to focus on the difficult questions, right? Yeah, great. Mohamed, since this was something you brought in, I'm assuming you want to reply to this as well.
Absolutely. I think Veronika, one of the key things from Bangkok was like, we should not come with the solution first. We should identify the challenge and then find how can AI help in this, right? And I think if you know, from the experience working on multiple countries, I think one of the challenges, for example, in grievances is how you classify different ones and which one you can prioritize as sensitive and stuff, right? So it's not to handle them by AI, but like just basically how you can, you know, rank them and put some rules and, you know, teach whatever tool you're using to kind of, and I think AI that can help play in this classification in this aspect. So this is one basic rule that I see a little harm in, you know, and this, although one needs to pilot, try, see where's the issue. For example, the case of Italy that was presented in Bangkok, where they used AI for fraud detection, they found some hallucinations of AI. So they found this. So a pilot, there's this a Chinese proverb, you cross the river by feeling the stones. Similar with AI, right? We cross the river by feeling the stones and we pilot and go. But I think what I would like to emphasize strongly here, Veronika, as my last slide, AI cannot be kind of something to bypass the foundation, bypass the key thing. So if you do not have, I would add to the policy that Rodrigo mentioned, procedures are also key. AI cannot, if you have bad procedures, AI cannot help you to overthrow it. And we see this from the implementation on the ground. So I think if your policy, your procedures, you don't have the systems, there are some things that interoperability can fix. We don't need AI for it, right? One question in Bangkok was raised is like, how do we do AI?
Oops, it stopped for me. Is it my, sorry, Mohamed, but certainly very great points.
Okay. Mohamed,
sorry, there was a glitch, Mohamed, on your last points.
Sorry, yes. Can you hear me now, Veronika?
Yes, we can hear you again.
What I was saying is that there are sometimes we're thinking of AI can fix things that other technologies can fix what we've been having for long. One example that was raised also in Bangkok, where like, how can we do age verifications quicker with AI? My question to the country was like, do you have interoperability? No. Interoperability can help you if you link it to the ID and civil registry and others, right? So it's not going to fix bad procedures. It's not going to fix bad policies. It's not going to fix things that other technologies can help. So we identify the challenge. If it can be solved by others, and then we think where's AI can interfere.
Totally. Thanks a lot. And these were also beautiful words to link us over to the conclusions. We only have 5 minutes left anyway, so we're almost running out of time. Unless there's any of the speakers still having anything burning that they think absolutely still needs to be said before we close, they can come in now. If not, please, Ralf, I hand over to you.
Thank you. And thanks to all the speakers for the rich presentation and the really interesting discussions, and the audience for asking quite interesting questions, enriching the discussion. There are, listening to the presentations and discussion, there are maybe 3 points which I want to emphasize here towards the end of the webinar. One, also Mohamed, you spoke about in your last intervention. So overall, I think we've heard that AI can be a powerful tool to enhance front and back-end operations in social protection, but we need to really consider whether it is the best solution to a given problem. There are often maybe other solutions in either technology or not even technology related. So it is really important to underline we are not jumping to AI because it is a hype technology. It should only solve the problems where it really adds the best value. And having said that, we really need to be mindful also that it is in social protection, it is a high risk technology. Veronika mentioned examples, and Rodrigo too, that it has gone wrong in some cases. Rodrigo made the point of it being intentional. I'm not sure it's always there. In some other cases might not. So I think it is something which we really need to use quite mindfully, and when we know that we can handle it properly. The second point is, and Rodrigo banked on that, data is key. So the data is a precondition for any AI development, and we need to ensure it's not biased so that we don't at the end, end up introducing an AI which essentially might harm social protection more than it does any good to it. And here it's also important to ensure that the use of data and the application of the
Again,
AI
I can't hear you
essentially
anymore.
fits into.
Now it works again.
Oh, no, it works. Sorry. Was I gone?
Yeah, but you're back now. Please continue. Maybe it
Okay,
was a glitch
super.
on my end. Sorry.
Okay, so we need to ensure that the data analysis, that the use of data in a model is also covered by legal and regulatory frameworks. It was a question also in the chat I've seen. And if they are not there, we need to see whether we can use recommendations which are available or guidelines which are available internationally to help the proper use in our social protection systems. And the third point I want to emphasize is the critical role of capacity, the capacity level, the capacity individual level on the one hand, so AI application require the capacity in the experts, and it was also I've seen it as a question in the chat too, on a social protection expert and tech sectoral expertise, coming together. So there is a high demand on that individual level to have the right capacity, at the institutional level on being clear what we want to achieve and also evaluate whether we've achieved it actually by the use of AI, and on the political level to formulate a clear vision and regulation for doing that. And because there are several challenges to it, but also the opportunities, I just want to mention here at the end that we are in the process with a number of partners, a broader consortium of partners, to try to set up an AI help desk for social protection, so where we can provide to country governments on-demand advice, where we can help exploring the AI DPGs, as Saurav also mentioned, where we can maybe create a repository for those which were identified, and where we can also help invest in capacity development. We hope that in a couple of weeks we can actually get going and announce the launch of that help desk, so that we really help a prudent and responsible use of AI, and not push the tech for the sake of pushing the tech. Here the cause is at the forefront, and that's what we want to achieve. Back to you, Veronika. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Ralf. And indeed, I think this is super important. AI and digitalization are the means to an end, and not an end in themselves. And as we said before, also this even defining properly your problem before finding the solution. I think all of this is something where, as a first step, an AI help desk, of course, could add tremendous value. With this, unfortunately, we've already come to an end. There were still many questions we were not able to answer. This was a very rich discussion. We've covered some of the ground, but there's still a lot more to explore and exchange upon. So we'll definitely continue this on other occasions. Thank you for joining. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for your interesting questions. If you liked the webinar, but also if you didn't and you have suggestions for how to improve this, please fill in the survey that we disseminate at the end of the session, or that you can find. We really appreciate your feedback, and yes, we look forward to hearing from you soon through different channels. And thanks, last but not least, of course, again to our speakers for the amazing insights and information shared. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.